Good morning, everybody. Cool. So we're gonna continue with our Bell of Mindfulness today. Let's just talk about some stuff, per usual. We're gonna talk about conditioning, a personal experience of mine that I found very humorous and also affirming in regards to how our practice time, like actually spending time in practice and committing to these techniques, facilitates a spontaneous sort of emergence of mindfulness in real life, and then a sophisticating of the mindfulness bell strategy that Thich Nhat Hanh really sort of pushed forward into popularity. And so, my little personal story, during COVID, I was in LA, I was in Mar Vista, there was a big line for some coffee shop, and I was waiting to meet someone. They arrive, we're talking before deciding to get in line, and all of a sudden I hear a bell. And I perk up, and sort of in jest, but also seriously, within every joke there's a little bit of truth. I just brought my hands to heart center and sort of comically chanted the Om. But then it happened again, and then it happened again. And all of a sudden, sort of beautifully, this sense of mindfulness, the sense of practice emerged in a very real way. And the bell was just because of COVID, right? Two people, one person can come in to get coffee at a time. So the coffee shop was using a bell to signal their customers. But because of my time in yogic culture and meditative culture, this sound, my brain is conditioned, as your brain is being conditioned or is already conditioned, to associate this sound with your practice. And that is the brilliance of meditation. You start to associate the experience of life in its entirety with this sense of mindfulness. Everything becomes a teacher. Everything becomes an opportunity to remember, the joy of what it means to exist. So, a little something to look forward to. What we're going to talk about today is the fact that this takes effort. And while there is this conversation of effortlessness in practice, that the act of mindfulness, the act of meditation, the experience of Zen or the Tao is a moment of non-effort, I want you to understand that is once you've achieved this sense of mastery or deep agency over what it is you're doing. And even though what you're doing is essentially non-physical, your body's just sort of sitting there, the effort within your mind is real. And in just like any other task, like juggling, yes, for some people that have practiced juggling for a long time, the act of juggling is effortless until we get to that point, until we cross that threshold of familiarity and agency. There is we are expending energy and trying to figure out the riddle and the perplexity of the game. And so we spoke yesterday about Hafez's poem, right? There's nothing in your mind that you have not invited in. And in that, we are working to be non-judgmental, working to open our minds to the entirety of the moment, working to be tolerant and connected to whatever arises within this present moment. And so in that, we need a sort of infinite recognition and a consistently refreshed presence. And so that's the effort you feel, and that might be where your sense of failure or stumbling emerges. And I just want to highlight that takes work. You are expanding upon your ability to focus. You are enriching your ability to be here. And so if it feels like you are working or striving to be mindful, even though it might contradict your concept or image of, a monk sitting there in peace and non-effort, your effort is okay. And your effort is to be expected. And so with that, there is sort of a clenching or a reaching within mindfulness itself. And this gets into the technique, the sophistication of this very simple technique with the bell. Thich Nhat Hanh calls it the half ring. And so essentially what happens is You're being mindful, and all of a sudden you have the sense that you are being unmindful. You are disconnected from the now. And we've already discussed this is probably because you are judging yourself or judging a thought or rejecting an experience. And so the first bell, the half ring, just gets your attention. Hello, you are practicing. And we wait for the bell to end. And then essentially a second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds after, the full ring, the full bell of mindfulness. And so through these two rings, these two reminders, the first is just to get your attention again. And the second is really to push into this effort, to push into this goal of being more here and more now. And with what we just discussed, the acknowledgement that there is a striving, right? Buddha's sixth step in his eightfold path. Right effort, right commitment. It takes work to be here. It takes work to be with the present moment non-judgmentally. You have this sort of progression. You have this progressive little sort of two-step that I think will help you understand that there are levels in which you can be here, and it's sort of manual, right? There is an actioning within mindfulness, as counterintuitive as it is to the philosophies. Okay, cool. Hope that helps. Let's do this. Comfortable seated position, eyes closed, unless you want your eyes open. There is nothing in your mind you have not invited in. And there is nothing within your experiential moment that you are not responsible for. And your responsibility is to welcome it into your sphere of awareness. You are the host of this moment. You are the home. You are the shelter of now. And so the half ring and the full ring, the first ring is to catch your attention, to remind you of exactly what it is you're doing. And the second ring is for you to step forward into mindfulness. Somehow embody this role of host, this role of benefactor, more. And that takes effort. And so the aim of these sessions is to help you understand what it feels like to apply yourself to mindfulness, to feel the actioning of mindfulness. It is a verb, to be mindful. It must be done until it is your nature. This is the trick. The effort is non-effort. What you are trying to do is not try. In the same way that you cannot attain your body because you already have your body. You cannot achieve something you have already achieved. The difficulty with trying so desperately to be present is that you are already here. It is the 9 attitudes of mindfulness that make this riddle understandable. Be grateful for what is arising. Be patient and let what comes come in its own time. Let what leaves go in its own time. Feel the gesture of psychologically letting go. You cannot attain what is already yours. And the moment is yours. This is the last bell. After this, practice on your own. My advice is to sit for longer than you want to.